15%. That's how many companies are even piloting a fully autonomous AI agent right now. And somehow, that's also the statistic that scares people the most. I'm David, and this is Confessions of a Tech Optimist. Most weeks I bring in someone to argue me out of my optimism. Today I couldn't find the right sparring partner, because honestly, this topic split me in half before I even booked a guest. So it's just me, working through it out loud. Here's the question. Will we ever get a fully autonomous enterprise? A company that basically runs itself? And if we do, what happens to the people who used to run it? Let's start with the case for yes and soon, because there's real momentum behind it. The numbers this year are genuinely wild. 40% of enterprise applications are expected to ship with task-specific agents by the end of 2026, up from basically nothing the year before. Almost 80% of companies already report using AI agents somewhere in their operations. And these aren't just chatbots anymore. They plan, they execute, they hand work to other agents without a human in the loop. Microsoft's own data shows agents completing autonomous runs across millions of workflows a month. And I get why that's exciting. Picture a company where the boring, repetitive stuff, reconciling invoices, routing support tickets, drafting the first version of a report, just happens. No one waiting on it. And the humans left in the building spend their time on the parts that actually need a human. Judgment, relationships, the hard calls. That's the dream version. Agents doing the labor, people doing the thinking. But, okay, here's where I have to slow down, because 40% of apps will have an agent embedded is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Having an agent is not the same as being autonomous. Look at the actual autonomy numbers, not the adoption numbers. Only 15% of IT leaders are even considering or piloting fully autonomous agents. Most of what's live today is what researchers call bounded autonomy, a well-instrumented agent doing one narrow task inside a cage someone built on purpose. That's not a company running itself. That's a company with a very good assistant. And here's the part that really undercuts the hype. Gartner expects more than 40% of agentic AI projects to be canceled by the end of 2027. Not because the tech failed, but because the costs escalated and nobody could prove the business value. MIT found that 95% of generative AI deployments show no measurable financial impact at all. So the honest picture isn't the autonomous enterprise is here. It's companies are spending a fortune finding out how far this actually goes. And a lot of them are finding out the hard way. So where does that leave employment? This is the part I keep circling back to, because the data doesn't point one direction, it points two. On one hand, genuinely new jobs are appearing. In the last 2 years, employers created at least 1.3 million AI-related roles. Data annotators, AI engineers, people whose entire job is managing a fleet of agents, roles that flat out didn't exist 5 years ago. That's real, and it's not nothing. On the other hand, nearly 15% of day-to-day business decisions are expected to be made autonomously by agents, and that number is only going up. And when a decision gets automated, somewhere, a task that used to justify a headcount doesn't anymore. Companies aren't necessarily announcing, "We replaced 12 people with an agent." They're just quietly not backfilling the role when someone leaves. That's a much quieter kind of disruption, and it's much harder to counter with a statistic, because there's no press release for a job that simply never got posted. So let me steelman my own confusion here for a second. Maybe the honest answer is that autonomous enterprise is the wrong image entirely. It conjures this sci-fi picture, lights out office, algorithms in the boardroom. But what's actually happening looks more like erosion than replacement. Task by task, decision by decision, the scope of what needs a human quietly shrinks. Not a company that runs itself, a company that needs fewer and fewer of you to run it the same way it always has. Here's my confession. I came into this wanting the optimist's clean answer. Agents handle the drudgery, humans do the meaningful work, everybody wins. And parts of that are true. Microsoft's own research says employees increasingly see agents as amplifying what they can do, not just replacing them. That's real, and I don't want to throw it away. But I don't think the line between augmentation and replacement is nearly as stable as I want it to be. Today's augmentation is next year's job description with fewer people attached to it, not because anyone's evil, just because that's what efficient systems do. They find the slack and they remove it, And the Slack, a lot of the time, is a person. So, will we ever reach a fully autonomous enterprise? Probably not in the clean, complete sense. Not a company running with zero humans anytime soon. Most of what's live today is bounded, narrow, still leaning on people for judgment and accountability. But I don't think that's actually the reassuring answer it sounds like. Because you don't need full autonomy to hollow out a workforce. You just need enough of it, spread across enough decisions, applied patiently enough over enough years. And maybe that's the confession underneath the confession. I don't think the danger is the dramatic version, the company that flips a switch and runs itself. I think the danger is duller than that, quieter. 1,000 small automations, each one completely reasonable on its own, adding up to something nobody quite decided on purpose. So here's what I'd leave you with. If you work inside a company right now, pay attention not to whether AI is coming for your job, but to whether it's slowly absorbing the tasks around your job. That's usually where it starts. Not with your title, with your Tuesday. That's my confession this week on Confessions of a Tech Optimist. If it made your Tuesday feel a little different, good, that means it worked. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify. Leave a review and send this to someone whose job title didn't exist 5 years ago, or one that might not exist 5 years from now. I'm David. See you next time.